What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got absolute breaking news coming out of Dallas, and honestly, this is the kind of move that shakes the entire NFL. We're talking about a star Cowboys player being cut, and this isn't just some quiet roster tweak. This is Stephen Jones stepping in, making a drastic decision that has the entire league, the media, and Cowboys Nation completely stunned. So buckle up, because we're going to break down what happened, why it happened, what it means for the Cowboys right now, and how this could change the landscape of the NFC and maybe even the entire NFL moving forward. And remember, stick around to the end because we're going to talk about the possible replacements, trade scenarios, and what this tells us about the Cowboys' real plans behind the scenes. So let's get right into it. The news drops. The Dallas Cowboys have cut one of their star players. This isn't a fringe guy. This isn't some camp body. We're talking about a face of the franchise caliber player, a guy whose jersey you see all over a Tan-Day stadium, a guy the broadcast shows every week when they roll that highlight montage. Almost immediately, phones start buzzing, insiders start tweeting, talk shows go crazy, and the common theme across the board is the same: shock. Nobody expected it to happen now, in this way, and with this level of finality. Then, you start hearing the key phrase: Stephen Jones made the call. That right there tells you everything about how serious and calculated this move really was. We know that within the Cowboys organization, Jerry Jones is the big, loud, public voice. But behind the scenes, Stephen Jones has been increasingly recognized as the one pushing the long-term strategy. The cap management, the hard decisions, the "we're not going to overpay just because a guy is popular" philosophy. And this move is the clearest signal yet that Stephen is willing to put emotion aside and treat this roster like a cold, hard business. From the moment the decision leaked, insiders began reporting that this wasn't some last-minute meltdown or argument. This was something that had been building: contract tension, long-term planning, age, durability concerns, locker room dynamics, and how this player fit into the next 3 to 5 years of the Cowboys window. You look at this star player's trajectory: big-time production in earlier seasons, Pro Bowl or at least Pro Bowl conversation, national spotlight, endorsements, social media buzz, and the whole America's team branding, constantly using his face. For most teams, that's a reason to keep a guy as long as you possibly can. But with Dallas, especially in recent years, there's been a very clear shift. They don't want to be handcuffed by emotional decisions anymore. And when you combine that with a massive cap hit looming, maybe a new extension being requested, guaranteed money demands, and the team trying to keep or pay other young stars on both sides of the ball, the front office had a choice to make. Do you double down on the past, or do you bet on the future? Reports started to leak about friction behind closed doors. Nothing dramatic like a full-blown locker room war, but enough tension that you could tell all was not perfect. Questions about usage, role in the offense or defense, how often this star player was getting the ball, or how much freedom he had within the scheme. You heard whispers about side comments in the media, little jabs about play calling, or about trust with the coaching staff. On the Cowboys, that stuff gets magnified. Every sentence becomes a storyline, every slight facial expression on the sideline becomes a meme. And what you get is a powder keg: a hugely talented, hugely visible star whose relationship with the team is not 100% smooth, wrapped in a gigantic contract and massive expectations. When the front office and Stephen Jones sat down and really looked at the numbers, the timing, and the impact, it obviously reached a boiling point. You don't wake up one random day and cut a star. This is a process: weeks, maybe months, of discussion with coaches, cap specialists, scouts, the owner, and even leadership council players in that locker room. You look at the dead cap, you look at the savings, you look at who you can extend instead: maybe a young pass rusher, a lockdown corner, a rising wide receiver, or your franchise quarterback's next deal. And clearly they came to the conclusion that, as painful as it is, the smartest long-term move was to rip the Band-Aid off now, instead of dragging this situation out for another year and potentially losing the locker room or missing a chance to keep other core players. The NFL world's reaction was immediate and brutal. Former players on TV are calling it ruthless, cutthroat, but also, some are calling it necessary and even inevitable. You see analysts on social media going, "This tells you everything you need to know about where the Cowboys really are as a franchise." Some argue this proves they're all in on a youth movement. They want faster, cheaper, more versatile players who fit exactly what Dan Quinn or Mike McCarthy or the next coach wants schematically. Others are saying this move proves the Cowboys are sick of being a soft team that clings to big names for marketing and jersey sales instead of hard football decisions. Cutting a star isn't just about money. It sends a message to everyone in that building: Performance, fit, and buy-in matter more than past hype or social media followers. Inside the locker room, you know guys are heated. Whenever a big star gets released, there's a human side to it. That's a friend, a leader, a guy you went to war with on Sundays, gone in a phone call and a press release. For younger players at that position though, this is both a shock and an opportunity. Suddenly, snaps are open, targets are open, a bigger role is there to be seized. This is where we see if the Cowboys really did their homework in the draft and free agency. Did they quietly prepare for this moment by bringing in players who can step up? Is there a second-year player some coaches have been raving about behind the scenes? Is there a rookie who looked great in camp and preseason, who now gets a real shot? Coach speak at the podium will sound predictable. It's a business decision. We appreciate everything he did for this organization. We feel good about the guys in this room. But behind the cliches, there's always a deeper truth. Maybe this star didn't fully buy into the current scheme. Maybe he wanted a different role than the staff was willing to give him. Maybe there were concerns about reliability in big moments, injuries piling up, or how his style of play would age over the next couple of seasons. The Cowboys are trying to avoid being stuck paying full superstar money for half-star production. And from Stephen Jones' point of view, if you think that cliff is coming soon, you'd rather move 1 year early than 2 years too late. Fans are split right down the middle, and that's what makes this story so fascinating. On one side, you've got people absolutely furious. They see this as another case of the Cowboys mismanaging talent, constantly resetting, never committing, always chasing potential, instead of keeping proven stars. They'll say, how do you get better by letting top talent walk out the door? They'll bring up the emotional memories, clutch catches, game-winning plays, highlight reel moments that made them fall in love with this player in the first place. It feels personal. It feels like the team just ripped out a piece of its own identity. On the other side, you've got fans who are more cold-blooded about it. They've watched this team fall short in the playoffs over and over again, and they're tired of the same formula. A few big names, a lot of hype, and then heartbreak in January. Those fans are saying, if this is what it takes to retool the roster, then do it. No more sentimental moves. They point to other successful franchises that consistently move off big names a year early and then reload with younger, cheaper talent while keeping their cap flexible enough to stay competitive year after year. These fans are betting that Stephen Jones is trying to copy that model rather than the old Cowboys model of paying for past performance and star power. Let's talk about the ripple effect on the field. Schematically, this changes everything. If this was a star on offense, maybe it changes how they stretch the field, how defenses roll coverage, or how often they run versus pass. If it was a star on defense, maybe it changes how aggressive they can be with blitz packages, how they deploy their corners, or how much they can rely on a single guy to erase part of the field. Coordinators are now in the lab, redesigning portions of the game plan to account for this loss. The next man up might not be as talented individually, but sometimes the overall unit becomes more balanced. The ball gets spread around more. The system becomes less predictable. That can actually make the team harder to defend or attack, even if the wow factor drops a little. Now, let's look at potential replacements and what this could signal for future moves. Cutting a star almost always frees up some significant cap room, whether it's right now or in the near future. The obvious question, what are the Cowboys going to do with that money? Are they gearing up for a big extension for a young stud already on the roster? Are they eyeing a high-profile free agent hitting the market soon, or are they saving space to be aggressive at the trade deadline? The timing of this move makes you wonder if there's something else cooking. The front office might already have a short list of targets, maybe a veteran who can come in at a lower cost, maybe a younger player stuck on another team's depth chart, or even a big-name star who's unhappy elsewhere but still under contract. Suddenly, a blockbuster trade feels more possible. And then there's the question of how other players view Dallas now. On one hand, some might worry, if they can cut him, they can cut anyone. On the other hand, a lot of pros respect honesty and consistency. If the Cowboys are upfront, produce, buy in, fit the plan, and you'll get paid. But if not, they will move on. That's a clear standard. Some players will thrive under that type of culture. The message is simple. This isn't a country club anymore. It's a serious football operation trying to win in a league with a hard salary cap and ruthless competition. Around the league, you know other GMs are circling. The moment a star gets released, phones start ringing, agents get called, teams with a need at that position start asking, what's the price? What's the medical history? What's the scheme fit? And you better believe there will be a bidding war of some kind. This player might not get the exact monster contract he wanted in Dallas, but he's not going to be unemployed for long. For him, this is a new chapter, and honestly, a massive motivation boost. You can already picture the social media posts. They gave up on me. They doubted me. New team, same dog. Whoever signs him is going to get a laser-focused veteran with something to prove. And if the Cowboys see him again on the schedule, that's going to be must-see TV. From a legacy standpoint, this move is critical for Stephen Jones. This is the type of decision people will look back on in 2 or 3 years and say either, that was the moment the Cowboys finally turned the corner and became a disciplined contender-level organization, or, that was the moment they made a brutal mistake and sent themselves backwards. If the team plays better, if young players step up, if they make a real playoff run, people will praise this as a masterclass in timing and roster control. If the team struggles, if the production from that position plummets, and if the star player lights it up somewhere else, Stephen is going to get hammered in the court of public opinion. So where do we go from here? Short term, the focus is going to be on practice reports, depth chart changes, and how the coaches talk about the replacements. You're going to hear a lot about opportunity and next man up, but what you really want to watch is snap counts, targets, and impact plays. Does the offense still move chains? Does the defense still get stops in critical moments? Medium term, you want to watch the cap and contract moves. Does someone else on the roster suddenly get a big extension? Do the Cowboys jump into the market for a surprise signing? Long term, we're going to judge this by wins and losses, plain and simple. For you as a fan, this is one of those moments that tests your trust in the front office. Are you willing to believe there's a bigger plan here, even if it hurts emotionally in the short term? Or are you convinced this is just another example of Dallas being Dallas? Chaotic, dramatic, and always in the headlines for the wrong reasons. Let me know where you stand on that, because I know this fan base is torn. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you support Stephen Jones making this drastic move, or do you think the Cowboys just made a huge mistake cutting their star? If you made it this far, make sure you hit that like button. It really helps the channel out, and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any updates. We're going to be tracking every angle of this story. Any new signings, trades, locker room reactions, and what insiders are hearing about why this really went down the way it did. Also, let me know which player you think should replace this star's production. Is it someone already on the roster? Is there a free agent or trade target you've got your eye on? That's all for this one, but this story is just getting started. The Cowboys just sent shockwaves through the NFL. Stephen Jones has drawn a line in the sand, and now we're going to find out if this franchise is truly serious about building a winner, or if this is just another dramatic chapter in a long-running saga. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.